we have this idea and we rationalize it to ourselves like, oh, because I was treated a certain way in the past, now I deserve this right now, or, whatever it could be. And I think that what is going on? How's everybody doing? What's up? How we doing? Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I am your host, Mark Hendrickson, and if you are brand new to this show, then what you can expect is open and authentic conversations about things like mental health, self-development, and how to get your life moving in the right direction. If you're not feeling good about where you are right now, if you're not feeling good about the person that you woke up as, the place that you woke up at, the life that you live, the life that you lead, at least having the confidence knowing that you're getting, one step closer to the person you'd like to be, the reality that you'd like to live in, and just kind of lifting other people up along the way as well. And then if you're not new to the show, then thank you very much for coming back and supporting the journey and supporting the cause and supporting the idea of, like I said, making yourself 1% better every single day and lifting other people up along the way as well. So, with all that being said, whether you're brand new to this podcast or not, you are the reason that I do what I do. Yes, you listening to this podcast or watching it, regardless of how you, whatever. Yeah, anyways. How we doing? I hope that you guys are doing well. Happy Monday. It's Monday today. It's Saturday as I record this. And I hope you guys are doing well. I had good friend of mine come over today, a friend of mine who's moving away. Well, he's kind of been in the process of moving away, and he was in town recently, so we met up a couple of times and we were just chatting, and we kind of talked about vices and crutches for a little bit, and it made me think about some of the crutches that we use and the ways that we have our own internal dialogue. And I thought before I really, and maybe I messed up the timeline of events, but I thought actually before I journal about this, I want to chat about it on the podcast, and just kind of think about what I think about, and do that for you guys to listen to or watch, and then just kind of maybe let you guys give me some feedback, and then I'll journal about it, and maybe we can kind of reconvene and go from there. So if at any point you agree or disagree with me during this episode, reach out to me, let me know, drop a comment if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever it could be, leave a little review, message me on Instagram at Risen Fallen. But I was thinking about, there's so many times in our life where we have like a crutch, and we rationalize it to ourselves by saying like it's the lesser of two evils, as if we have to do something bad for us. And sometimes how we compromise on our values, and when it comes to things like this, we think that it's kind of like holding ourselves off from doing something worse, when I really think that it's actually getting us closer to doing things that are worse. And so I guess some of the ways that we do this in our everyday lives, like some of the ways that I found myself doing this in my everyday life, is like quitting smoking cigarettes and going towards like vaping, and like thinking like, oh, well, like I'm fucking, yeah, of course, like it's not as bad as cigarettes, like having this fucking, mentality. And it's like, I feel like, same thing with like maybe junk food and processed foods and artificial sweeteners and all these like health foods that are quote unquote health foods, but they're just full of like processed shit. And people will be like, oh, I don't eat fucking Oreos or McDonald's, but then they eat these like sugar-free, gluten-free, fucking paleo-friendly, keto-friendly, like cookies or whatever that are like full jam-packed full of like preservatives and all these added chemicals and shit. And it's like, yo, yeah, but it's better than eating McDonald's. And it's like, maybe, but you're still, the reason I think I bring up these two specific examples, and the reason that I think about these topics, often, is I feel like a lot of the time we convince ourselves that because we're avoiding the one thing that we actually want, practicing some sort of self-control, being like, well, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, I'm not going to eat the junk food, I'm going to practice self-control and discipline and have this other version of it. I think that actually, like, you're still psychologically, you're still subconsciously pre-wiring your brain to be looking for that, like, dopamine, like, oh, I need this thing and I can't have like this one thing, so I'll substitute it, with this other thing. I think a lot of us, when we have a bad habit or a habit that we want to give up or quit, like, substitution is one of the greatest tactics that we use. And so we try and find like a way to substitute, maybe a behavior or a habit with a way that can also, transfer into our lives and integrate easy while still making a change. It's like the easiest change that we can possibly make. And I think that a lot of the times what this is doing subconsciously is wiring into our brains that it's still okay to have this like dopamine circuit of like externally dependent dopamine sources where we're like, we need to have this thing. And I've found so many times, even with myself, like when I stopped smoking cigarettes and I started vaping, and then I fucking stopped doing that, I found like, I thought the biggest issues I'd have would be like, oh, the nicotine withdrawals. Like, I've had like nicotine products, like I've been using and abusing nicotine products my whole life, from like chewing and dipping and smoking cigarettes and then vaping, like, I've been around a lot of these products, to say the least. And I thought that, personally, when I quit, doing these things, I thought that the nicotine withdrawal would be the biggest struggle that I dealt with. But for me, I found that the biggest withdrawal that I had was sitting with idle hands. Like, anytime I sit in my truck, I'm driving, I'm stuck in traffic, or anytime like something at work, we have to wait or think or sit around or do something, like anytime I have idle hands is when I find the most types of cravings. And, sometimes that manifests in hunger, and sometimes it manifests in, like, obviously when I was doing those habits, it manifests in those. But, I felt like the withdrawals from nicotine would be the biggest issues that I dealt with. The headaches, the shakes, the nausea, the lack of sleep, the lack of focus, those types of things. But really, it was just like anytime I got in my truck, I'd be like, I feel like I need to be doing more than just driving. I need it, like, it's like this weird feeling of like needing more to feel okay, to feel comfortable, and I think that, a lot of like overeating or bad relationships with food stem from the same thing of like needing to do something, like snacking on something, like keeping your mouth busy, your hands busy, your brain busy, and getting, obviously, that dopamine rush that we get from processed foods or vaping or smoking, or, I've focused a lot on those examples today, but realistically, what this comes down to is these rationalizations that we have in our brains. And I think that they can add to or contribute to the limitations that we put on ourselves. And, it's not always just like habits or behaviors that we have, that we rationalize to ourselves. A lot of the time, sometimes it's like our emotional states or our reactions to those things. Some behaviors that we have, like maybe the way that we speak to each other or treat each other or think about each other or have patience for each other. These types of things are also influenced by the rationalizations that we have. Like, I deserve to be treated like this, or I deserve to be having this, or spoken to in a certain way, or have this certain, we have this idea and we rationalize it to ourselves like, oh, because I was treated a certain way in the past, now I deserve this right now, or, whatever it could be. And I think that the same way when you look at these unhealthy behaviors like smoking, drinking, eating like shit, those types of things, and we think about the rationalizations that we have, subconsciously, where our inner dialogue can basically just sabotage us and trick us into, following through with these things, this rationalization that it's like, oh, it's okay, it's just this one time, I deserve it, this, that, whatever rationalization you have. The same way that we have those rationalizations subconsciously about physical behaviors or things like that, we have these same types of rationalizations for our emotional states, for a lot of other things in life. And the same way that those rationalizations hold us back from physically developing sometimes when it comes to, sticking to a meal plan or not sticking to a meal plan or whatever it could be, those same rationalizations and those same, thought patterns that land you there are the same things that are going to hold you back from emotional development and mental development and self-development as well. And I think that a lot of the times I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not always, a viable expectation for yourself to not have these inner dialogues, this rationalization. And you shouldn't feel bad if you have that. Like, I have it all the time where I find myself trying to convince myself, oh, you don't need to do this, you shouldn't do this, don't feel pressured to do this, that, with the other thing, or rationalizations that I have to avoid things that make me uncomfortable or anxious or anything like that. I had a rationalization recently where, I kind of felt kind of hesitant to enter another jiu-jitsu competition. I had this shoulder pain. I feel like I'm not physically or mentally prepared enough. I had this, that, and a bunch of other reasons why, with work and my personal life, why I couldn't focus on entering a jiu-jitsu competition. And realistically, what it came down to was this kind of just anxiety. And why? I've done it before in the past multiple times. I'm going to do it again in the future multiple times. I don't know why. And so for me, it was just really just noticing that I had these rationalizations in my brain and just being I'm not going to let this control me. And I think that that's kind of why I brought this up today, is because I think that, a lot of the times when it comes to things related to self-development, when it comes to rationalization, when it comes to discipline, when it comes to positivity and choosing to have a positive mindset no matter what you go through, and all of these other topics that are coexisting with what I've been talking about, we have this expectation okay, once I'm aware of it, I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's, I think a lot of the time we have to forgive ourselves and understand, the idea is not to have these character defects or flaws. The idea is to notice them and have the awareness of these things, and to be able to notice them before they make your life unmanageable and make your life, unbearable. And I think that when we can notice ourselves having that inner dialogue and the rationalization that's trying to, really honestly, subconsciously, it's a form of self-sabotage, I think that when we can notice that happening and just take note of it and say, hey, it's happening again, I'm having this self-rationalization, or you can identify which little fucking figurehead on your shoulder you're listening to. Is it the devil? Is it the angel? And once you can identify which one's which, it makes listening to each one a lot easier. I notice in myself, there's so many times where I think, oh, this is my bitch voice. Oh, this is the old me. This is the person I'm trying to kill. This is that person whispering in my ear. The person I want nothing to be like. I want to be nothing like this person. That's who's whispering in my ear right now. That's who I've listened to in the past, and they led me down roads I do not wish to go down again. And so, like I said, once you can understand when that's happening and, what voice you're being talked to in, then you know when you need to listen or not. And so on that note, I will let you guys go, and I will catch you guys on Thursday. If you want to link up, if you want to chat, if you want to connect, reach out to me on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, everything. It's at Risen Fallen. I will check in with you guys on Thursday. Much love. Peace out. Love you all. Bye.